in cities across the country, including Austin, Texas, where Shadow Lamar lives.
Over the course of the last 18 months, they have increased the rent by 40%.
Cities like New York, Miami, and Newark are seeing more than a 30% hike in rents, forcing millions to consider relocating.
That's a $600 increase a month. That's crazy.
And looking ahead, rent rates are expected to increase another 10% this year, according to a recent report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
Over the last 7 years, the rent has generally increased about 6%, and we usually fight with them on a regular basis to get it lower than that, because when I was working, my annual increase wasn't even close to 6%.
Shadow Lamar used to work as an accountant. She now collects $900 a month in disability benefits. She and her wife rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Austin for $1,500 a month. That amount is set to increase 43% to about $2,200 a month, outpricing the tenants of 7 years.
Our rent is based on supply and demand. And that's always the answer when we talk to them. It's being forced, and we're not prepared. We're not prepared to move right now. It's just a shame that they don't do anything to work with people that have been here so long.
A tough reality as workers return to cities and many local eviction moratoriums and rent freezes expire.
During the pandemic, people really went out and bought a lot of homes. They left the cities, moved to the suburbs and rural areas, and we saw home prices shoot up. More recently, people have been returning to cities, so home prices are up pretty much across the board. Low mortgage rates contributed to that. And now with the return to cities and also the end of the eviction moratorium, there has been a lot of demand for rents.
A high demand far outnumbering the supply of affordable homes.
Millennials are entering into homeownership age. They're starting families. They're getting married. They're going out on their own and wanting either an apartment or a home. And they're finding out there just aren't enough out there for everybody who wants one.
Economists say the rent issue can have ripple effects across the broader economy, and that the government can introduce policy changes to bring some relief.
In the short term, the government can look into providing rent relief so that it's more affordable and people can afford both their rent and things like groceries and gas and all of that in the short run. But the long run problem is really the supply of housing.
With no other choice, Shadow and her wife plan to hit the road in search of an affordable home.
We'll check out some areas, and obviously, we're looking at staying outside of the city so it's not as expensive. We are totally not prepared, but I'm sure that we'll work it out.
So I should note, a lot of these major cities did offer deals back in 2020 when a lot of people were leaving the cities and landlords were struggling to find renters, right? And this is an examination of the year-over-year increase. But an increase in rent broadly across the country is a huge issue right now. And part of that's because of the lack of new homes on the market and population growth. Take a look at this. The federal mortgage lender, Freddie Mac, found that the market only added 65,000 new homes back in 2020. And that compares to back in the late 70s, there were about 400,000 new homes built a year. And during that same time period, the population increased about 100 million people. And obviously, it's not one person living in every household, but you kind of get a picture and perspective of how different the market looks like than it did in the past. Gabe?